Hello, everyone. Welcome. I don't know why Lisa gets the giggles every time before we start. We don't even say anything beforehand, and Lisa gets the giggles. It cracks me up so much. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is the Our Turf Football Podcast. It's been a few weeks since all four of us have been here, so I'm super excited about that. That we can see everybody's smiling little faces. We have a lot to talk about tonight. And so we're going to have to, because there's four of us, we're a little opinionated, and we hope you guys are opinionated too. So if you guys are over on Twitter, if you are over on, I'm going to keep calling Twitter. Don't get me started. Anyway,
stop.
Twitter. Yeah, I know. I won't. Breathe. I'm going to over on Twitter, over on Facebook, right? Or our new friends at Blue Sky and Threads, which we have so many exploding over there. I'm super excited. Come over to the YouTube channel, because then you can go ahead and jump in our live chat and you can give us your thoughts on everything that we're talking about, because we got some stuff and things. But before we get started, of course, we want to talk about hello to all of our chat. All these people already are like, hey, nice to see you. We missed you guys too. We want to thank, of course, Donkey's Place Cheesesteak, our sponsor of our podcast for the fourth year in a row. They're world renowned. They're just amazing. They were named the best cheesesteak by a bunch of really important people, and I can't think of the name. Anthony Bourdain. Yes, Bourdain. My brain was gone there for a second. Anyway, they have 3 locations in New Jersey: Medford, Mount Holly, and Camden. But you can go to goldbelly.com, which we still need to figure out how to get sponsored by Goldbelly, because we say their name every single week. Goldbelly.com. Go look up Donkey's Place Cheesesteaks. You can have them sent directly to your home. It's a really good idea, if you ask me, to do it, like I said, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. You don't have to cook. Just have it sent to your house. Just have a really wonderful time. All right. So thanks again to Donkey's Place. Ladies, how are you? How's everybody doing? Lisa, you're in a good mood.
Finally.
I know.
Did we all win?
My team did not lose this weekend.
Mine neither, because I was on bye week.
I was on a bye.
Okay.
We won.
We did too. Okay.
And we won.
Okay. Let's start, since there was just 2 of us with games. Lisa, let's go ahead and start with you. Great game against the Rams.
Whew. For
Fantastic
you.
game.
That's why we all joke here when we divvy up the games for you guys to see which one of us is going to cover and stuff. I can't cover my own games. I already told these girls, there's just no way. And Amanda knows now why. I mean, I was up and down. It's nerve-wracking for me. I mean, it's just I don't even enjoy it. I don't even know why. Yeah, I should have just gone to bed. And that's why I laughed. After they touched, I should have just gone to bed and enjoyed a nice, good sleep and find out. But, I pace. I go back and forth. It's just the anxiety is just crazy on primetime games. And we haven't played well on primetime. So it's like, why are we on primetime? But, they played great. They played good enough to win. I wouldn't say great. I mean, there was a couple, Tua certainly struggled some, but our defense finally showed up and played 4 quarters of football. But I was, and I guess I helped you guys out with beating the Rams.
I appreciate you. More than you know.
So we had to get back on track. I mean, we're there's time in playoffs. I'm still cautiously optimistic. But
listen, I was looking at the standings, and I don't know why I was surprised. The Dolphins were right at the top with the Bills at 11-6. I don't know if the Bills aren't doing as well as I thought they were in my head, or if the Dolphins are playing better than it feels like they're playing. Right. But when I looked at the standings, I'm like, whoa, they're 11-6.
Yeah.
They are still in the playoff conversation, girl.
Well, nobody's. It's only week 10. How can they be 11-6? You mean that's their
estimate? At last year's page. I liked last year's stats better.
I like last year's stats much better too.
Right, though. Like, okay, they are right there.
Girl,
in the
you're
mix.
3-6. I'm sorry, my bad. I'll be quiet.
Yeah. But the problem
look at the ones.
But the good part with that is there's a lot of teams 3-2-6. It's
so many.
I mean,
your whole division is 3 and something, except for the Bills.
Right. And you look at the upcoming weeks. We have a very favorable schedule coming up. So we have Tua back. Injuries just killed us the first of the year. I mean, you saw Mike McDaniels without Tua. I mean, it was crazy. So, but those Detroit Lions are rolling.
Right. The Detroit Lions were rolling. Oh my God. Explain first, Sonia, explain 5 interceptions to me on a man who'd only thrown 4 the whole season.
I guess they had to play somewhere. They finally caught up with him, I guess.
Right.
That's
What
the only
was a
thing
Hail
I can
Mary
think of.
which shouldn't count? I will beat this drum forever. Those Hail Marys should not count against a
Don't
quarterback
throw it.
as an interception.
Agreed.
It
Well, then they
depends on the
should
team.
count as touchdowns then.
They should only count as touchdowns if you make them. They should not count as interceptions. Let it be said on November 12th, 2024. Anyway,
that is hilarious. Well, they played fantastically. It was really pretty fun to watch. They held their team without a touchdown. Like, is that the second week in a row? I can't remember. It's a couple weeks in a row now that they have held their opposing team without a touchdown. And you know what? Like I said, the NFC West, thanks you very much for holding those Rams down.
You're right.
I will say this. I'll remind everyone. Dana picked the Bills picked the Lions to go to the Super Bowl against the Bills. But I don't know if that's going to happen because the Chiefs are the luckiest damn team ever. But that's okay.
That's right. Big boy football. Sorry.
That's funny.
Dan
All
Campbell's
right.
a man. Dan Campbell's a man.
He is.
We just call him Man Campbell around here.
Dan Campbell. Look at the rest of the week. Week 10 was kind of interesting. We had a really good Thursday night game between the Bengals and the Ravens that came down to the last minute, 35-34, the Ravens winning there. We had a not so good Munich game. Those poor German fans, man,
Good Lord.
They stuck it out into overtime for those people. Oh my goodness. 17-20, the Panthers winning that game. Then we have the game that got an OC fired today. And let me just say this. Seahawks fans could have told y'all, I don't know why the hell you hired Shane Waldron. We told you not to do it and you didn't listen. But the Bears got spanked by the Patriots, 19-3. 3 points is all they could get. Woo, what a mess. Then you have the Buccaneers 49ers. That actually was a pretty good game. Sadly for me, 49ers came out on top on that one. The Broncos Chiefs. We're going to talk about those Chiefs here in just a minute. Luckiest team in football. Just saying. Then you have the Bills and the Colts 30-20 with the Bills winning the Steelers Commanders game, which was our game of the week and a very fun game for me to live tweet. That was a lot of fun, that game. Steelers winning 28, Commanders 27. The Vikings won 12-7 over the Jags. John, what happened? What happened to your team now? I don't even know. All right. So then we have the Falcons and the Saints. The Saints kept going on top 2017 over the Falcons. Chargers beating the Titans 27-17. The Jets and the Cardinals. We're going to talk lots about the Jets here in just a little bit. 31-6. Aaron Rodgers, 31-6. The Cardinals beat them. Eagles, Cowboys, 34-6. Just telling you. We were talking before the beginning of the show started. We said the 2 things that made us real happy is the Cowboys and the Jets struggling so much after all the hype about it. And I really thought, I'm going to be honest, I thought that the Cowboys would be better this year. And now Dak is out for the season. And then we have the 26-23 win, the Lions over the Texans after 5 interceptions. Nice job. And then the Dolphins win 23-15. So what's interesting to me about this week is that we had some really good football. Kate, we had some really bad football. It was just, I don't know what happened in that Vikings game. I was shocked.
We had a lot of bad football and a lot. That's why we have so many teams that are 2-7 or 3-7 in that range. I did not expect this much parity. Teams with 7, 8, 9 wins and then teams with only 2 or 3. I thought some of these divisions would be a lot more competitive. And it's just, I feel bad for them, those German fans as well. I still don't understand the Country Roads, West Virginia song.
Oh, they love it. They love it.
When they play it in the stadium and they turn the music off and you hear the voices singing it, I don't know why they love it.
Right.
But that's my favorite part of the game is when they play that and Rich Eisen's outfits. He always looks, and Kurt Warner looked very nice. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe next week we'll give Lisa a bone and we'll talk about all these teams with 2 or 3 wins and break apart their quarterbacks. Because I don't know if it's bad quarterback play or horrible defense or some combination of the two,
Mhm.
but can we play a little game?
Okay, yes. Let's do that.
mind?
But I want to mention something first, and then we're going to hop into Kate's segment. I'm super excited about this. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams in the AFC with 3 wins or less. In the NFC, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 wins or less in the NFC. Lots of bad football game played, guys. Lots of it. All right. And super, super top heavy for sure. Okay. So let's play a game. Kate had a great idea. And we were super excited about it. Kate, I'm going to let you do it.
So this is a little segment I'd like to call Let's Second Guess the Coach's Decision. And I picked 2 things from this past weekend that I want to get y'all's opinions on. Because we all, most of us either play or have played fantasy football. If nothing else, we like to sit at home and yell at our TV and yell, run the ball, throw the ball. We're telling them what to do. So we're going to start with an easy one. 2 weeks ago, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers played the Kansas City Chiefs, got a touchdown at the end of the game, kicked the extra point to send it to overtime, and the Buccaneers never touched the ball again. The Chiefs went down the field and scored. They took a lot of heat for not going for 2 and sending it to overtime.
Absolutely.
Guess what happened on Thursday this week, Sonia? The Bengals scored a touchdown at the end of that game with division rival Ravens, and Zach Taylor made the decision to go for 2. They did not get it and lost by a point. Sonia, was that the right decision, or should he have kicked the extra point?
I hate 2-point conversions. I understand why they're there, but I hate them. So anytime you go away from that, I applaud it. So that's just the main thing. I hate 2-point conversions. I rarely see them work. So I get it, but I think in the Bengals game, it was the right decision. You gotta try. You gotta try. And then I think with the Buccaneers and the Chiefs, you've got to stop the ball. If you want to get the ball back, you got to stop them, right? So there you go.
Lisa, a lot of what I heard from the Buccaneers Chiefs was you can't let Pat Mahomes have the ball again. You should have never gone to overtime. You should have just gone for 2 and been done.
Yep.
Is Lamar Jackson now in that same conversation? You can't let Lamar get the ball back. Is that why Cincinnati went for 2?
And plus the fact that they scored 4 of the last times they had the ball. That was huge. They scored 4 times on them. And it was absolutely a no-brainer to me. And I'm going right back to both of them. They should have gone for 2. You've got to, you can't tie it and then give Pat Mahomes that much time. It's just ridiculous. So the Bengals, I think the Bucks call was ridiculous. They should have gone for 2. The Bengals, I applaud him. I definitely was the right decision to go for 2. They just didn't execute it. It was there. The play was there. I mean, that's when you look at it was there. I mean, they had it fine. They just didn't execute it. So, I love 2-point conversions, especially towards the end. And when if your defense had 4 sacks, they stopped them the last 3 or 4 times, then maybe we're going to tie this up and put this in our defense's hand because they're playing great. But they scored on the last 4 possessions. So I think he made the exact right call. I think the Bucks just
that's my question for Dana. Did he believe that much in his offense, or did he not believe his defense would get him the ball back if it went to overtime?
I think situationally, he had more faith in his offense at that point than he did in his defense. And it's situational, right? I mean, you have to look at it that way. One thing, and I'll get 1,000 messages from people that says I'm a Pete Carroll homer, but Pete Carroll's like, I don't play football to tie. I play football to win. And so that's where you go for the 2 points. But you have to look at it situationally. And I think Lisa hit it on the head. You don't give Pat Mahomes back the ball, right? And so you want to, you should have gone for 2 in that situation. But I think that to me, at least, it was just obvious. You trusted your offense at that point. You couldn't trust your defense, especially against Jackson, who got me 40 freaking points in fantasy football. Like, he was rolling. Had he been having an off night? Maybe, right? But I agree with the play. You go for 2 and you see what happens.
Very nice. The other situation from this week that I want to talk about is a coach that made a decision today. Matt Eberflus came out and said that their 3 points that the Bears scored was unacceptable, and his solution to fix that was to fire Shane Waldron, their offensive coordinator. Now, Dana, I know you were not a fan of Shane, but Caleb Williams has been sacked a league-leading 38 times. Is getting a new offensive he was sacked 9 times by the Patriots. Is getting a new offense coordinator going to fix that?
So let me just say this. I know Shane Waldron very well, having been the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks, and he had the exact same problem in Seattle. A horrible line that desperately needs to be fixed, that you have ownership and coaches that won't fix. I get it. Shane Waldron, I feel for you, kid. The thing with Shane Waldron is he has no way or no idea how to adjust to a bad line. He does not have the ability to look at it. And we were saying all day on social media today, and Geno Smith survived Shane Waldron. Good for him, right? But Caleb Williams, as a rookie, he doesn't know that. He doesn't have that, right? He doesn't understand it. So what you need to do is have an OC that can be like, the line is horrible. How can we adjust to help this kid? He can't do it. And so he has to find someone that can help Caleb Williams not become a statistic like Bryce Young has.
Sonia, the Bears offense has been averaging 19.4 points a game, even with a 3-point effort yesterday. Is their defense just that bad that 19 points isn't enough? You know the NFC North better than any of us.
I know the NFC North, and defense is a thing, especially with Chicago, right? Historically, they've had a great defense, and their defenses usually are pretty good, but their team, God bless them, they need a little bit of love. And so I don't think that their defense right now is playing the way they need to. It's just a hot mess there right now. And I feel bad for Caleb. I really kind of do.
I do too at this point.
Yeah. Lisa, he had a 13.5 QBR yesterday or Sunday. I mean, on the season, he's thrown for almost 1,800 yards. He's got 9 touchdowns, but 5 interceptions. What is challenging him that he was so good in college? We loved him coming out of college. I think the concerns that we talked about were more about his attitude, never about his talent.
Yeah.
Right.
What doesn't he have now that he had then? What does he need? And what does his new offensive coordinator need to give him?
A team around him.
A team around him.
Is it that simple?
You hope now where you look positive, put a positive spin on this. Obviously, where they sit, how they're playing, changing offensive coordinators. We all have run this gamut before where you finally got a number 1 pick. The Justin Fields experiment. I mean, how many quarterbacks are you going to pick in the first round before you realize that you got to get a line in front of this kid? Hopefully we figured out that he can win in this league. I think I've seen enough to where you should probably surround the kid with some talent. And,
they're
let's
not
go
even
to next year.
Teams. They're 4
right. Well, you're gonna have a pretty good pick. You're gonna be in the top 10 if we keep going the way we're going.
Right.
So we're gonna do some offensive line work here. You hope that this is where some common sense kicks in and you kind of, look at the tape, and every NFL analyst in the world knows what's going on. So you just got to get him surrounded, and you just got to get an offensive coach that clicks with him and just stays with him. I mean, we've seen these quarterbacks go through offensive coaches every single year, and it just doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah. They won 7 games last year. So technically they're on pace to go 8, 9.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
I don't know. So ultimately, we all think Zach Taylor made the right decision by going for 2.
Yes.
And while it may be the right decision for that Matt Eberflus made to switch offensive coordinators, it's still not going to be enough to fix the Bears.
No.
They need a savior.
They do need a savior. We're going to talk about saviors in a minute, but I want to talk about some of these comments. And once again, reminder, if you guys are watching over on Facebook, over on Twitter, if you have or started, come to the YouTube channel. Come and join our chat because we love it. So our friend John, I'm a Vikings fan. I don't really feel bad for Caleb, but maybe a little, but not so much. Fair. That's fair. That's just divisional rivalry, John. I'm okay with that. And then God love Big Red and his Spencer Rattler love. I called him average in
Spencer
college, but I was
Rattler.
comparing him to Spencer.
Spencer Rattler is trash.
No. Big Red loves himself for sure.
That was Lisa. That was not me.
This is a good point, John Mace. To be fair, Justin Fields moved on and is still an average quarterback. Maybe that's probably true. And then he also said one of Caleb's issues is separation anxiety. He has trouble separating the ball from his hand. Fair.
His receivers have trouble getting separation from the secondaries.
Exactly.
Yes.
Just crazy. So we'll see what happens there. So we're going to move on. I was thinking after we all had a little giggle about the Jets, and to our Jets fans out there, we feel for you. I feel for you. I love so many of your players. I hate your quarterback. I feel for what's going on with you guys. But so I was just finding.
I don't.
I know. You don't have to. Again, divisional, understood. But what was interesting to me is I was thinking about how many of these teams out there, and if you look at them, they're usually not well-run teams, make these huge splash in free agency to get their savior player, right? The Jets have done it twice. They did it with Brett Favre back in 2008. They took Brett Favre. They were going to save their team and everything. They ended up with 9 wins that season. Brett Favre, 22 touchdowns, 22 interceptions. Was just an old Jets or an old Green Bay player, right? Turn around and did it again with Aaron Rodgers. First season out in 12 plays. Sorry.
12 plays.
Yeah. But anyway, it wasn't funny. And I feel bad. I never laugh at an injury. So, but now he's come in and where are they at? They're a 3-win team. He cannot save this team. So I thought that was really interesting. They thought for sure. The rest of the team around him is still not a terrible team, right? Their defense is decent. They have Garrett Wilson, who's great. They have, they have Sauce Gardner. They have all these players, right?
Mhm.
They have this quarterback who's supposed to come in and save the world and couldn't do it. They're not the first. I mean, it's happened a million times in free agency, but there's a couple of notable ones. The other one was Nick Foles. You guys might remember that Nick Foles, after winning the MVP in the Super Bowl, ended up in Jacksonville, paid him a ridiculous amount of money. Horrible. Didn't play well. Broken collarbone. Couldn't stay on the field. They thought he was the answer, and he ended up just being a huge dud for him. Then the other one is Russell Wilson going to Denver. And I want to talk about that in a minute. But Kate, I want to know from you, because I've been thinking about Deshaun Watson. Do you feel you guys you have my Myles Garrett. You know how I feel about my Myles Garrett. And you had Nick Chubb. You had some great players. You needed some help. You got, Amari Cooper. But when they went after Deshaun, do you think the Browns thought he was the savior? Was he the one that was going to come in with all of his stinking baggage and save this team and be the piece that was going to take them to the Super Bowl?
Absolutely. When I look at the money they paid him and all the things they gave to the Texans in the trade, which built this Texans team that is really good right now, they clearly thought he was the missing piece. And while the biggest ability you need to have in football is availability, and he's had availability issues, even when he's played, he hadn't been good. He was leading the league in sacks with 33 until this weekend when Caleb was kind enough to get sacked 9 times and take that away. And he's out for the rest of the year. And I don't know that he's played a full season of games, but the whole reason they brought him in and the reason they told the fan base, males and females, to ignore his character issue and just winning fixes everything. And this will be our ticket to the Super Bowl. And it's not.
For sure. And I think that there's a whole different set of issues, I think, with Deshaun than necessarily even the Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers situation. Lisa, I want to ask you about that. You have been watching this division forever, right? You know these teams pretty intimately. The interesting thing to me about it, especially with the Jets, is they really laid all the blame at the foot of their rookie quarterback, right? And they're like, it's his fault, it's his fault, it's his fault. They go and they spend a ton of money. They go get ancient ass Aaron Rodgers. It's not even like he was off his first contract or something, right? And they had already done it before. It's amazing to me that they would do it twice, Lisa. 2 times they've done this. One would think they'd learn their lesson. But then I'm assuming they're thinking he can handle all this pressure. He's a veteran in this. But then he goes down and you're in the same disaster. So let's fire the coach instead. I need
Well, they
some
fired in the
explanation.
second year, though, Dana. They fired Saleh
I
the second year.
know. It's
The
so
first year when
stupid.
Rodgers went down, it was like, okay, which is strange. I find that the most ironic thing. You lose Aaron for the whole year. You struggle between your rookie quarterbacks, bringing quarterbacks in, and going through that, and you keep Saleh that whole time. And you're at this point, to me, the defense has come along. They're starting to have a nice little defense building. Robert's doing a great job with that.
Yeah.
Coach is doing a great job with that. I don't want to disrespect him because I still think he's a great coach.
I do too.
And so Coach Saleh did that. Then Rodgers comes back, like you said. Here we go.
Dun, dun, dun,
oh,
to
the
save the
Jets
day.
fans were going to the Super Bowl, right?
Yep.
Were they not? They're going.
Yep.
They're going.
Right.
This is the AFC's them. We're going to dethrone the Bills. Rodgers is our savior, and he doesn't play well. So what does Woody do? He fires him, which is you rode with him without Rodgers, but yet blamed him for. And we knew you knew things were bad. You knew it because that play where he went to hug him and he pushed him away, that spoke volumes of where this coaching staff was compared to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. And we talked about it, I think, a couple weeks ago too on the show. When you've got an owner that believes more in your quarterback than your coach,
there's an issue.
There's issues.
There's an issue.
And I'm sorry. He's not to blame. He's never to blame for anything. Is he said, "Oh, bring me a wide receiver. I need a wide receiver."
He got all his whoobies. All of them.
He got his whoopie. Didn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And now I think Jets fans are waking up because now they want him benched.
Yep.
They want to look to the future. I trolled all the Jet fans. Now they all want him benched. And who's sitting back smiling? But Coach Saleh, because
I was about to say Coach Saleh. He's like
exactly.
Right.
There's again, there's some great comments in here. Big Red says Rodgers is kind of old in football years to be playing quarterback today's game. I agree with that completely. I think that I think that was a long shot to begin with. We talked about it at the time. It didn't seem to make a ton of sense. And I think that he brought the history, which was only one Super Bowl. Can we remember that he only won one Super Bowl?
Right.
It's not like you're getting Patrick Mahomes at 40, right? But so anyway, I find it interesting that the team did it twice. You've seen other teams do this. They bring in, and it's not always a quarterback. Sometimes it's a running back. Sometimes it's a wide receiver, whatever it may be. The one player that's going to be the linchpin. But if the rest of the team is struggling that much that you only get 3 or 4 wins the season before, I'm sorry, that's not going to be your savior. So really good point to be made when we talk about Russell Wilson. So Russell Wilson, as we know, was the Seahawks, the Seahawks quarterback for 10 years, asked to be traded. He was ready to go play somewhere else. And Denver paid all the money, all of it, convinced that he was going to come in and I think be the savior to this very first time head coach, Nathaniel Hackett, who's now with the Jets. Just let's keep that in mind, right? So we have him. He comes in, and what happens? Russell's not playing well. The rest of the team is not good. Their defense was pretty good, but the rest of it wasn't good. Yeah. Nathaniel Hackett was a disaster. It was all kinds of a mess. Hackett gets fired. Then in comes Sean Payton. Sean Payton decides to blame everything on Russell Wilson, but I think that's just he didn't like him, and that's fine, whatever. And so you think, oh, Russell Wilson was the problem. He was brought in to save that team, and he's the problem. Off he goes to Pittsburgh. Sonia, I don't think he's so much of a problem anymore.
No, he's not the problem. And see what happens when you go to a place where you are valued and appreciated and have a respectful coach, you flourish and you blossom and you win games and do little funky dances at the end.
He did. That was very spry, Russell Wilson. I didn't know what to do with myself. I'm used to robot Russell Wilson,
Right? So, I mean, I think the reemergence of Russell Wilson has been really good. I think for him especially. I mean, he's a good guy. He's a different guy, but he's a good guy. And I think he would never say anything bad about the Denver Broncos and how he was treated there.
Not who he is.
But I think right? It's not who he is. But I
Mhm.
think getting him in an environment where he is coached well, respected, and the team actually is appreciating him,
Mhm.
you get this Russell Wilson. So it's a testament to a change of environment, change of coach, all that good stuff.
And that ends up benefiting a lot of players, really, when you go
Yeah.
out and you look. It's like, he just needs somewhere new. He just needs somewhere new. I still kind of think that way for Bryce Young, although I was real excited for him for winning. I mean, granted, he beat the Giants, but still, he won, right? He
But
won. Good for
still,
you, Bryce. I was so
right.
excited for him. You know what I mean? But what's interesting to me is also, and Kate, this is what I want to ask you before I let Lisa gush about Russell Wilson for 10 minutes, because she's gonna, is that, is it a reality check sometimes? So these players go somewhere, or maybe they're with their original team and they're just not appreciated. Like Sonia said, they're not, coached well. They're not in an environment where they can flourish, and they go somewhere else. I really think that in Russell Wilson's, in his first move from Seattle to Denver, that was ego. He was going to go and be the savior and the king somewhere else, because he does have a little bit of that. We love Russell, but we know that's true.
Yeah.
Humbled a little bit and now flourishing with Tomlin. Do you think that sometimes that a little bit of humbling is as good as the new coaching and the new system?
Yes. And I also think age is a factor.
Okay.
Aaron's 40. Deshaun is 29. Russell's 35.
Yeah.
And I look at Sam Darnold and what he's doing in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I look at Baker Mayfield and what he's doing in Tampa Bay. I don't know that Baker has a humble bone in his body, but I know his trip to Carolina was not a happy one.
No.
And Sam Darnold had been somewhere else between Carolina and Minnesota. And I like the idea that, because I hadn't thought of it in those terms, Dana, that if they go somewhere and it doesn't work, is there a
humbling,
a humbling that happens, or is it just they finally found the right place? I think maybe it's a little bit of both.
Sure.
We've seen it with a number of them over the years. Look at Jared Goff in Detroit.
Yeah.
That's a great example.
There's if you have the right system and a team that's ready for you, I think your second chance can really pay off.
I totally agree. I want to get to come to the comments before we let Lisa go off on Russell. So funny. I love that. So John says, hey, Kristen, to Kristen, who's also in our comments, I think Aaron feels a hamstring problem coming on in 1 to 2 losses. I bet it's not even that long, to be quite honest with you. And Kristen, who is a fellow Seahawks fan, she's like, I'm happy for us. I am too. We could be mad at him for a year, and then we beat him a couple of times. And so now we can be happy for him. It's fine, right? For sure. And this is a really good point from Big Red. Russ might not have as much pressure now because he was going in there to save the world and be the savior. Then now he's just like, they let him rehab his leg. He completely came out of injury. He wasn't, biting to get out there. Let Justin Fields have the field, sorry, for a minute, right? And knew kind of that they needed him, but it wasn't the pressure. I think that's a really, really good point.
Well, and it's also, he went to a very solid organization.
Yes.
That defense is top notch. The coaching staff, the front office. Mike Tomlin is the Pittsburgh Steelers' third head coach in my lifetime. And I love him. I wish he wasn't in my division. And I think that helped as well, because there was so much going on in the coaching and front office stuff in Denver, so much turmoil, and there isn't that drama and that turmoil. And Russell strikes me as someone, unlike Aaron Rodgers, who is happier without all the drama and without all the turmoil. And frankly, since they let AJ Crazytown leave, Pittsburgh has been a lot more solid and secure and low-key from a drama perspective. And that's the perfect environment for someone like Russ.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Yep.
Lisa, there's been a lot of conversation about Russell Wilson over the last couple of years. And normally this is not a Russell Wilson show, you guys, but I know how much you love him. But here's the thing for me. There's been a lot of conversation about him, about whether or not he's done enough to get into the Hall of Fame. Here is my question for you. If he manages to play for Pittsburgh, even for 2 more years, and we know they always go to the playoffs, right? This is just what Pittsburgh does. But if he can get them deeper into the playoffs, does that solidify him more so for the Hall? Now, I know 1 more Super Bowl, he's in. We get it, right?
I think he's in anyway. I think he's in anyway.
I don't know.
Yes, because veteran quarterbacks matter. And let's take Aaron Rodgers out of the equation for a minute. When you look at what Russell Wilson has done for the Seattle Seahawks, when you look at Russell Wilson now with the Pittsburgh Steelers, we all just know Mike Tomlin. The stability of the Pittsburgh Steelers is phenomenal. That front office knows how to put football teams together. But when you look at Russell Wilson as a quarterback and see what I see with him, when this is one of the stats that makes a matter, clutch moments. Veteran quarterbacks know how to handle clutch moments. The Commanders game is a perfect example of clutch moments. You had to bring your team back.
Yep.
Okay?
With no panic. No panic.
When you look at what he did, this is his 40th game-winning drive. 30-second fourth quarter comeback of his career. The fourth quarter comeback moves Wilson past John Elway into ninth place by himself. Next up on the list is quarterback Dan Marino with 33.
All right.
Those are Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Fair.
He's right there.
It's fair.
He's won a Super Bowl. There's no question Russell Wilson belongs in the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame. Absolutely right there. Solidifies
the question
everything
is, who's he competing against?
You're right. At
Who
the time.
are the quarterbacks of his era? Is it Matt Stafford? I don't think he has the numbers. Is it Pat Mahomes? Is it like who?
Well, different generation.
I would definitely take Pat out of it a little bit. But I mean, when you look at the phenomenal runs he had with the Seahawks, but I mean, you're talking about fourth quarter comebacks. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean,
we got really used to them. We don't have those anymore.
I've just seen a lot of the voting for the Hall of Fame go along the lines of these 3 or 4 quarterbacks are now eligible, and who gets in first? And does he the first one in that group from what's he been out since what? 2012, 2015?
12.
Who else came out in the 12 to let's say 17 range that would be eligible around the same time he's eligible? Is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? I think he should be.
I don't think first.
I don't think he'll be a first.
I think it just depends on what the class is, though.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Who's the class?
True.
I hope he and Bobby retire together and they go in together. That's what I'm hoping for. Anyway, all right. So let's see a couple of comments from our from the chat. John's like, every now and then it hurts my heart a little knowing Tomlin could have been in Minnesota. That's all of us. It's all of us.
I think it hurts. I was going to say that's everybody.
It hurts us all.
Everybody
this is a good question. Going back, Big Reds, if Russ gets in, does that mean Lamar will get in when it's his turn? I think yes.
Oh, hell yeah.
He needs to win a Super Bowl first. Don't forget, Russell has won a Super Bowl. So don't forget that. We'll see that.
Yeah.
Then we have John again. He says veteran quarterbacks matter. Past their prime ones do not. Flacco.
Flacco had a rough weekend.
That's right. And then let's see. We have John again. Chris may need a veterans committee to get in. I don't think
so.
We're not making jokes about age.
He's just salty because the Seahawks beat him in that freezing cold outdoor game in the playoffs. That was great. Oh my God. I almost went to that game. -6 below or something. But all right, everybody. That is our show for this week. We will be back again next Tuesday. We're here every single Tuesday right here on YouTube for our new friends over at Blue Sky, our new friends at Threads. Make sure that you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Then you'll know always when we go live. And please always come over and join our chat. We want lots of people in our chat. I can see you guys sitting in there. I can see you watching it. I know you're there. Just say something in the chat. I promise you, Big Red, John, and Kristen will not bite. Where's Cameron? We need to call Cameron. She wasn't here today.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. So we will see you again. Laces out. Everybody laces out. All right. We will see you guys again next Tuesday night. Good night, everybody.
Bye.